Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Prudy. Welcome to my podcast. Well, last week I wasn't able to is not the right word. I didn't put enough effort to make to record a podcast because I am in a shitty state where I am very frustrated with myself, very angry, very disgusted at the things that I do, but I don't want to do them. But I don't do the things that I want to do. It's like there's a analogy where you where you tie a dead body to yourself and you try to live your life with that. It's That's exactly how I feel right now. There so much conditioning, so much um, things that I didn't want to learn. I wouldn't have learned them if I knew that I was learning them. Yeah, I am trying to change so freaking much, and it's very difficult. I'm not being intentional. Uh, yeah, there are a lot of changes that I need to do, and I'm not working on them enough, and that's frustrating me. All right. Well, let's see how I do that. Let's see. Time will tell if the change is real or am I just making visible changes. But in this episode, I wanted to bring up a simple question, but a necessary one. Do we really stand with the oppressed, or do we just love saying we do? Because I quote Periyar, Ambedkar, Marx, we quote them a lot. I have seen many and I guess people quote them. I do that, and I tweet fiery takes like I used to critique anyone that comes in my side. That's very problematic. And we say we stand against the oppressive structures, right? But how many of us actually act? Let's start with the obvious one. There's a difference between real solidarity and performance, right? Saying I support versus actually showing up. It's very easy to say things, easier said than done. We all heard that phrase because it's actually true, and that shows how what we are doing with our lives. Because it's on the online spaces, it's easier for us to type it out and just post it, just post it. It's very easy, one click away, and we feel like, I feel, at least I felt like I'm standing with the oppressed because of my tweets, because of what I say. But am I actually showing up? Am I actually showing up or putting things into action as much as I talk? Um, yeah, that calling out injustice online is very easy. It's you don't need to like do much. I mean, online spaces are necessary. They are important, and like the fact that and the reason you're listening to this podcast is through online spaces. Um, that they are important, but how are they impacting our lives? How are they impacting um, the people around us? Whenever we say something online, it's people. When I people have a persona of me based on my tweets, and that's not really accurate. I struggle with a lot of things. Struggle is not the right word again. I do not put enough intent in doing the things that I'm supposed to do. I make very bad financial decisions. I am not organized. I steal labor. That's very criminal. Um, People who do not know about me will not see this. They just have a persona of me that is entirely different, that they have made up in their minds. But yeah, it's you don't know me, but it's we have a limited space. I can't write everything online, so people will have that persona of me. And yeah, why am I going into this tangent? Well, yeah, how what we say online is very easy, while challenging it in our families, workplaces, friend circles, that's very difficult. There was this not difficult, but we're not putting enough effort in that. There was this one time where acquaintance of mine. He asked a female friend of his, I don't think that's friendship, but he asked her to take the glass that he drank tea from. He asked her to take it into the kitchen because she was standing up and going. I was like, that's not okay. That's you. Why couldn't you have done it yourself? Because you drank that tea in that glass, and that tea was for you. It's your responsibility to keep it back there. I thought this, but I didn't say it. I didn't. I was. I thought I was afraid of how it's going to affect my relationship with the people that I'm working with. It's yeah, that was a very uncomfortable position. But now, now I'm definitely going to say something. At least ask them questions like, "Hey, did you think that was okay to do that?" Um, yeah, but another thing that I notice is I'm not saying calling out injustice like the way I used to do online, where you have no mercy, no second thoughts, just straight up critique them, critic my life away. That's not what I'm saying. Um, because when I recently learned about the oppressive structures, I started telling my parents, my sister, it was coming from a perspective where I was the one who knew things and they didn't know them, so they have to know them now. That's how I was seeing it, because this again was influenced by Christianity, because I grew up with it, where once you are saved, you have to save others, and you have to preach the gospel so they will listen and know the gospel, and they will be saved. That was the idea, right? This was influenced. I was influenced by this, and I was trying to make them change, trying to basically change their mind. Rather, what I should have done was thinking in a way where we are both learning things together. This is what I've learned. Maybe see this perspective, think for yourself. Yeah, that's what I should have done. Yeah, but it's engaging. It's more of an engaging rather than like a teacher having a capitalistic society teach us to the students, because there's a power dynamics again. Yeah, so I'm not saying that yeah, that I have done that, and I don't want to do that again. I hope I won't do it again, because that reeks of savior complex. A friend of mine pointed it out. I didn't know that until then. See how ignorant I am. Well, yeah, calling out it, challenging it in our families, workplaces, friend circles. I'm not saying that you put yourself in danger, where you will struggle for basic necessities. That's not what I'm saying to do. We all have limitations because we live in a capitalistic society, and we must learn to navigate them within our limitations. Yes, we do have limitations, but we also have certain privilege based on our caste location, based on our gender, um, based on the economical status that we have and the societal status. We do have limitations. Different people have different limitations, and different people have different privileges. So what are we doing with those privileges within those limitations? Whatever we can do with our privilege, that we should do. That's what I'm saying when I say challenging it in our families, workplaces, and friend circles. Yeah. And how are we um, how are we centering certain people voices? For example, uplifting is not the right word. It's a casteist word, because there's a power dynamics again. Well, how are we amplifying or accompanying marginalized voices, or are we centering Savana voices? Because we tend to ignorantly, at least I, center certain voices that are favorable to me, that align with my views, rather than thinking, okay, whose voice is this centering? Is it centering Dalit, Bahujan, and Adivasi voices, or is it centering Savarna voices? What is it doing? For example, um, um, damn, I forgot what to say. Well, ah, the podcasting is very difficult. I should have wrote this down, but yeah, centering Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi voices. Who are we? Yeah, I remembered it. Anyways, for example, we talk about movies. We talk about songs. Hey, did you listen to this song? Did you listen to this TV show, TV season? Did you watch this? Did you watch that? What are we centering in such instances? Whether are we doing that for the oppressors, or are we centering the marginalized voices in doing that? This is just one example. I'm just giving you the principle. Um, yeah, it's like, imagine a brand releasing an anti-caste statement while still benefiting from caste hierarchies. It's or the so-called ally who talks about dismantling privilege but refuses to question their own last name inheritance and or family wealth or their gender privilege. So are we allies, or are we are we simply saying that we stand with the oppressed, or we just using the language of allyship to feel allyship and solidarity to feel better about ourselves? Let's get real. What does solidarity look like, right? This I first imagined solidarity would, in theory, solidarity would look amazing because all of the people come together, and then they come together and fight against the oppressive structures. How lovely, how amazing it sounds, right? But if in reality it's not that. Solidarity is very uncomfortable because it means giving up power, giving up privileges, giving up wealth, giving up comfort. Oh my goodness, my brain is wired for comfort. I have to resist it to be in a difficult position. Otherwise, my brain loves comfort. I don't want to be in a discomfortable position. Yeah, that I need to correct. Other than that, real solidarity means, what does it actually mean? It means not just sharing the knowledge, not just telling people what to do. This is what this is what it is. These are how things are going. It's not just that. It has to do with sharing resources, right? Um, one This is one thing that I struggle with so much. So recently, I have two phones and two extra phones that I was struggling with so much. Either I may have use for it someday, and I didn't want to give. I didn't give away is another power dynamic word that I shouldn't use. I didn't want to pass it on to others who can use it. I wasn't using it when those phones were with me. I was like, it was very difficult for me to just give away. That's the difficulty I'm talking about. No, now I'm not saying this because I want to say that I gave it away and I wanted to let the world know that that's not my intention. Because these are the trivial things that we stay in our comfort zones and we don't actually question them. At least I. Um, yeah, sharing resources, it's not just knowledge that we should be sharing, and making space for marginalized voices instead of speaking over them. Financially supporting Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi businesses, artists, and activists. It's very difficult living in a society that is casteist and capitalistic, and if you're one of the marginalized uh, communities, and you are doing a business, you are being an artist and activist. That's even more harder. You definitely, if you're an artist or an activist and you're from a marginalized community, you definitely need a community that supports you, that sees your value, that sees your worth and what you're doing to the society, and who support you, right? This is what marginalized artists, marginalized activists need. And how do we challenge privilege, even when it costs us something, right? But when we know that we have to risk something, we tend, at least I'm not talking on behalf of anyone. I tend to not lose my privilege when it costs me something. I want to hold on to it. Because again, I like to stay in my comfortable bubble. I want to break it. It's very discomfortable, and if it costs us something, we tend to not do it. That's what we should be questioning and changing, and not waiting for oppression to be trendy, right? Before caring about it. I did not know about patriarchy. I was living the structure, I was seeing the oppression. I didn't learn until recently about casteism, about racism. These are all the oppressive structures that I learned in theory, intellectualized recently. And I wish I knew all of these before and acted on it. Yeah, but like it's only when something becomes trendy that's when we start caring about it, right? For example, ethical sourcing, that's the sustainability. These are the words that are being thrown around, like eco-friendly. What about long before, when you were exploiting things, when you were not eco-friendly, when you were not doing things that are not sustainable? You still do it now. We all still do it. um yeah, it's we should uh be mindful about standing against oppression, not when it's trendy. Yeah, the one example that I was going to give was before October 7. It took me October 7 to know that Palestinians are the ones who are being wronged, and Israel is a settler colonial um, structure and oppressive structure. I didn't know that before. I didn't pay much attention to that. That's we don't need to have another October 7th in order for us to realize what are the oppressive structures that we are living in, right? Like how Savarnas with wealth generation should be redistributing it instead of just acknowledging privilege. These are the things that we should be mindful of. And my question to you, the listener, it's not for you to tell me, but maybe this may help as an introspection. What concrete action have you taken this month? If your answer is nothing, sure, that's all right. Uh, Ask yourself, what's stopping you? Now, if you're serious about standing with the oppressed, here are the practical steps. Now, note that these are just the principles, and I could be wrong, and this is just my perspective. You feel free to correct me, feel free to teach me the things that I missed out or that I didn't know. Donating to grassroots anti-caste movements is one thing, that how we can stand with the oppressed. Consuming or buying from Dalit, mindfully consuming and buying from Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi creators instead of corporations. When we put our money towards marginalized while buying things, that's one way of us avoiding supporting the corporations, supporting capitalism and casteism. It's because the money then again goes to the we are buying labor from the marginalized and hoping that it benefits them. That's what we are doing instead of just asking the corporations to take our money and keep oppressing us, and educating yourself without burdening marginalized people to teach you. I realized this recently that I'm relying on my other friend who has been telling me a lot of things for over years. And I'm like, yeah, I'll change. I didn't really pay much attention to how much mental labor that she's putting into that just to remind me of these things. And that's robbing labor. That's yeah, it's we shouldn't rely on others to teach us. Yes, there are some things that our friends or community people that who teach us things they that are necessary, but we can educate ourselves. We have access to internet. We have tools. We have people we can reach out to, resources that we can have our hands on. We can teach ourselves. It's we shouldn't always be relying on other people, especially the marginalized people, to teach us things. And another thing is calling out oppressive behavior in our own circles, even if it is uncomfortable. But read the room though. Don't get yourself in trouble where you lose your basic necessities or you're going to have to survive. That's not what I'm saying. Even with again, within your limitations, with your privilege, do what you can. It varies with every person because we live in a diverse society with different gas locations, different economical statuses. Yeah, and building sustained solidarity, not just temporary outrage. So many of us, at least me, when I used to hang out more on Twitter and other social media, Instagram, I thought it kind of gives you a sense when you like and retweet something. It gives you the feeling that you did something, even though it's just liking and retweeting instead of even when it doesn't do actual impact in the real world. I'm not saying that um, that's not what we should be doing. Yes, we need internet, we need these connections through social media, but it should be intentional, but also focused on sustained solidarity, not just temporary rage. When, for example, how the recently comedians have been attacked by a few just a second, somebody's texted me. Anyways, I hope they don't text me again. I'm recording this. Anyway, how recently a few comedians were attacked by the right wingers, and everyone started speaking about them. Like, is our outrage temporary? Is it going to is our outrage only going to happen only when there is something outrageous, or are we constantly questioning things? Are we constantly building uh, just a second, I'm gonna close this app. This is going to be annoying. I'm so sorry. All right. Are we continuously doing standing for the oppressed, not just when something uh, atrocious happen in the world, in the society? The example would be someone who funds anti-caste work every month instead of just sharing posts during Dalit History Month, because Dalit History Month is coming, and everyone, all the allies, they will start sharing the posts endlessly throughout the month. But then forget that. Yeah, this applies to me too. So, are we willing to lose comfort to actually stand with the oppressed? Now, solidarity isn't just words, it's action. It's losing something to fight oppression. It's not just gaining clout, right? Yeah, if this episode made you uncomfortable, at least to some extent, where where I don't critique you to the point that I alienate you, that's that's a very problematic behavior that I have. Yeah, if you're uncomfortable, sure, I am also uncomfortable. We are all in this together. We're gonna learn, we're gonna unlearn, we will make mistakes, but that's okay. We will start again. We will keep moving forward. Yeah, thank you for listening. If you like this, don't just share it, act on it. Until next time, question everything and stand with the oppressed. For real.